Hello, everyone. Happy Saturday. It is a tremendously snowy or aftermath of snow Saturday where I'm at anyway, here in Michigan. So I hope you are safe and warm wherever you are. My name is Dr. Julie Toomoon. I am the creator of From Surviving to Thriving, a program that is 5 steps to take you from fatigued and frustrated and exhausted and overwhelmed and hormonal to sexy, vibrant, and alive. I'm here today because I wanted to talk to you about if you're getting to where you really want to be going. So I hear from people all the time, like, I feel like I've been working so effing hard and I'm not getting where I want to be. And it's frustrating the hell out of me. And I get the frustration because I've been there. You know, I remember that it was not so hard in my 20s to maintain balance. And then in my 30s, it got a bit harder. And then in my 40s, it just turned into something entirely different. Gaining ground was not the same thing. And there's a good reason for that. You know, in Chinese medicine, we talk about how much the body changes decade to decade. Those are real changes. And the fact is that along the way, most of us were given very little knowledge about how to take care of ourselves. I mean, I remember when I had my first child and the Chinese medicine doctors that I was studying under, they were saying to all of us, you know, you really should be doing this differently and that differently. And I was in my 20s and I was filled with hubris. And honestly, myself and so many other women that I was in school with that also had small children were kind of like, oh, they don't know what they're talking about. But they did know what they were talking about. And I was too arrogant, I can admit it, at the time to listen to the advice. And I was in a rare position because I had like master Chinese medicine doctors telling me how to extend my longevity and take care of myself in better ways. And I wasn't listening. Now, most of the world didn't have that opportunity. They weren't surrounded by expert physicians and people who understand healing like no other. And so what I know to be true is that most of us have gone through life without anyone really telling us or warning us about how we were going to take ourselves down if we didn't care for ourselves. And as a result, you know, we go through life, we work hard. Many of us have had children. Many of us have you know, gone and gotten degrees and we don't know how to eat correctly and we don't know how to take care of our movement and we don't always sleep right. And we think that there are things that we can catch up on. But then you go past 40 and suddenly you're like, oh, I don't know if I can catch up on that because it just starts to get so much harder, right? Like you're eating food and it doesn't digest the same. And your hormonal cycles are just crazy. And you start to feel like sometimes you are in yourself insane and your mind doesn't work the same way it used to. And exercise doesn't have the same effect. And then if you put on a few pounds and you go to try to take them off, it's like, why is this so hard? Well, the reality is that your body is entirely different after 40. And it changes even more from 40 to 50 and then 50 to 60. So these are things that you have to understand. And there's patterns. The body presents this in patterns. So in classical Chinese medicine, we discuss the body as in terms of those patterns. So it's always giving us clues. What's happening? What then can we do about it? That's why I love Chinese medicine, because it's giving us examples of exactly what we can do next based on what's happening. So here's a great perspective. Last week I was working with someone. They'd been having long-term back pain, right? Well, a couple weeks worth of really intractable back pain. And then I realized that, you know, we weren't making headway treating it from the back. So I said, let's treat you from the front. Now, this is a totally odd perspective, right? We're going to treat back pain from the front. But I started treating it from the front, and within one treatment, the back pain was gone. This is what I mean about perspective and paying attention to the patterns. Now, in this case, because I do a lot of my work intuitively, it was like the spark hit, hey, you got to treat this intuitively from the oh, hi, Mary. From the front, you gotta work from this perspective. But the reality is that there's many ways that those patterns present. It's just many of us who've been putting our hands on people for so many years, that intuitive sense also speaks forward very clearly. But we can see those patterns in other ways: how we sleep, how we digest food, how our mind works, how our moods are functioning, how our hormones are functioning. There's a whole lot of information there. But the sad part is that a lot of people that are giving us health information, they don't know how to identify those patterns. And so they're leaving us kind of languishing because they're operating on like a one-size-fits-all philosophy. And so we feel frustrated because we apply the information that we find, right? We change our diet. Maybe we start meditating. Maybe we start taking supplements, and then we're like, gosh, like, where's the bang? Where's the aha? Where's the like, woo, I feel like a movie star. I just feel amazing. Half of us would just be happy to wake up and not feel old. So identifying the patterns, that's the key thing. So are you working with people who can help you identify the patterns? It matters, guys, because otherwise you're going to waste your time. When it comes to supplementation alone, I can tell you that, the standard recommendations don't work for everyone. And you can spend years swallowing the same crap over and over and over again. And it's not going to get you to where you're wanting to go, because it can't, because it's not exactly what your body needed. And it's going to add to the frustration, and frustration is adding to the stress. And then you start to feel like, well, nothing's working, so I might as well eat those cookies. I've been there. I know. I remember being in that spot one February and feeling like, this is crazy. And I'll tell you, from my perspective, it just felt like failure. And that's partially because I am a doctor, and I thought, if I can't effing figure this out, my God, what are other people being left to do? And I took like a break from even trying. I mean, it was like, fine, if the weight's not going to come off and if my energy is not going to change, then great. I'll get the organic Oreos and I'll eat them. I'll eat some more organic chocolate. Why don't we have some more bread? And I started, kind of like sliding into that depressed state. So my wheels, I tell people, it's like you're starting to like have your tires spin out, like you no longer have traction. You're stuck right where you're at. And then, because I'm rather type A and I'm not one to give up, so I kind of like went into that place, and then I got kind of stubborn, like it was like, screw this, I'm going to figure it out. And luckily, like I said, I've been able to travel the path with Chinese medicine doctors and naturopaths, and I have colleagues in the field, and I know where to look, and I actually know what to tell, what's true and what's not true. So I dug into those places. But I know so many of you are languishing in that place of being tired of struggling. And you don't have to struggle. I know you're tired. I know that your body doesn't feel the way it should feel. I know, maybe your joints ache when you wake up in the morning. I know that diet is confusing the hell out of you, because there's a million different perspectives and you've already tried 15 of them and they didn't do what they promised. And I know that you don't want to have to just work harder, right? You don't want someone to say like, oh, we're going to work so hard, because that's not where you're at. You don't have the vitality left to work so hard. All of those are real experiences, because let me tell you, that sense of slowdown, it's happening not just in your mind. So it's not just your perception. It's happening in your cells too, your cell membranes. You will hear me talk a lot about cell membranes, but it's really important, because I want you to realize that the structures inside your body are living organisms themselves. I think of the dynamic nature of our body. Each part, each component has a personality and a participation role. And I learned that because of Chinese medicine, because in Chinese medicine, each of the organ systems has a personality. It has an emotional sphere. It has a realm of action that is dynamic and not just like, oh, this makes insulin, for the pancreas. Like the pancreas is part of the spleen stomach system in Chinese medicine. It's much more dynamic. It's like good garden soil. It has a whole like 3D nature. And that's why when I talk about the body and I mention cell membranes, I want you to understand that I'm talking about this thing that has like a 3D nature and a personality to it. And when we get really worn down, it's like there used to be a spark there and now it's gray. And so when you feel that in your motivation, you feel that in like your perspective, and you feel like I'm just at the bottom of the pit and the pit's made of ice and I can't gain any traction, that's going on in your cells too. Thank you, Deborah. That's going on in your cells too. It's like the drawdown. It's so real. I was just telling someone the other day, because they said, everyone thinks this is in my head. And I said, oh, it's not in your head. So that's the first thing I want all of you to know, that when you feel that way, it is not in your head. You're not making this up. You don't just need to buck up and get stronger. You don't just need to tap into a bit more will. That is not what's happening. You're really actually there. Your cells are there too. So the first thing that needs to happen is the pattern has to be identified. You have to identify the correct and specific action steps, because here's the other thing. If you waste time taking action steps that are not specific to your body, what happens next is that you waste vital body energy. So remember, I said every organ system has a personality. Every organ system has a dynamic set of functions. It's like a 3D model. Well, when you put something in, so let's just say, let's pick a B complex. Okay. You put a B complex in, it's a set of instructions. So you're telling your body a set of instructions you want it to do. Now, if that set of instructions wasn't what your body most needed to hear at that time, you're diverting its attention away from where it wanted to place its focus and putting it on something else. Now, that's a totally different look at the way that we, at supplementation, because we've started to regard supplementation as just sort of like one size fits all, but it's not. So that's why the patterns are so important. Being able to nail down exactly and precisely what information does your body want, which organ systems are weak, which ones need to be built, which ones have, stasis and restriction in them, because it's all very real. And each of those organ systems, because they have an emotional sphere, that's why we're getting the totality of impact. You don't just feel tired, you feel tired and you feel angry, or you feel tired and sad, or you feel tired and anxious. Like it's a 3D model of our body. That's how we work. So I want you to start thinking about, how can I harness the simplest of actions, right? So one thing I'm going to tell you to do is release yourself from obligation. You are not obligated to so many things that you think you are in your life. And in this week, if you go and you release yourself from just one unnecessary obligation, I guarantee it's going to free up energy for you to have a better physical experience in your body. The second thing is you don't have to keep up with anyone. Stop trying to keep up with the expectations of the world. Like, we should look like this and sound like this and act like this. Stop it. Stop doing that to yourself. Again, there's only so much energy in your body. And if you're already worn down, trying to keep up with what the world expects you should act and look like is just ridiculous. Until the build, you've been able to rebuild your system, that is just using energy for things that aren't vital. And third thing, go make a list of everything that is your heart's desire. Seriously, down to like what you want your life to feel and look and sound like, and where you want to travel and what you want to wake up and do every day. And the reason why I tell you that is that I want you to connect your daily actions to some place of joy. Even if you're not in that ideal state right now, even if it seems really far away, I want you to make a cellular connection to that. And then every day, I want you to do one small thing for yourself that is in alignment with that goal. So if you have a goal that you want to wake up and feel in less pain, then maybe there's one small thing. Maybe you rub your own feet at night. It's like connecting with your body. You just do something simple. And I want to impress upon you that if you're really ready for this to change, you need to find someone who can help you work on the patterns. I can do that. There are others too, but when you go and do pattern-specific action, then you can do more with less effort, which means you get to get closer and closer and closer and finally get all the way there. Because it's real, that frustration, that sinking sensation in the pit, those are all real things, and you don't have to live there, I promise. I've watched other people climb out, and it's about changing that perspective. And sometimes someone else is the only person that can change that perspective for us, like with the person I was working on with the back pain, and then you treat from the front and suddenly the back pain's gone. We all need that impetus and that push from time to time. So I'm holding that space for you, that those tiny shifts can start to make big changes in your life. And that when you're ready, you'll take that leap into doing something totally different. But along the way, I validate you. I get it. I know where you feel. I know how it makes you just want to go and grab the bag of Oreos and sit down and watch a show. And I know that your mind is not as sharp as it was. And I know that when you crossed 40, it all changed. And anybody who tells you that any of those things aren't true doesn't understand you. And my last piece is this. I'm going to encourage you to just really be in love with yourself, where you're at right now, because that's one of the steps to walking out of the place of frustration. So for all of you out there who are having a Saturday where you're maybe, resting, good. I hope you are. And for all of you who've over-obligated yourself, knock one of those things off the list, because I'm sure there's one that wasn't actually needed. And I'm just going to send you many blessings for your bountiful, ongoing healing, because I know it's possible and you're more than worth it. So my name is Dr. Julie Two Moon. I wish you just the best day ever. And if you have any questions, if you want guidance and help, if you want someone to help put you on that path, just comment below. I'm always happy to talk free of charge. So have a beautiful day and enjoy your Saturday.